Hey guys, Andy here. So I've been using the Xiaomi Redmi 3 for 3 or 4, 5 days. I figured it was time to give you my thoughts and opinion on it. So here we are. I think the first thing I need to lead off with, this is a £120 device. £120. So with that in mind, I'm going to say that whilst it feels good in the hand, it does feel a bit like it is a £120 device. So the metal is not, you could almost imagine that's plastic. It doesn't feel particularly solid in that respect. But like I say, it does feel good in the hand. Obviously it has there the fingerprint sensor, middle of the back, which that's fine. I don't mind it being there. I've kind of got used to my Note 5 being down on the button on the front, so it can be a bit of a pain sometimes if it's on a desk, or there's some times at the gym where I'm exercising on the floor and the phone's there and I want to be able to unlock it to register I've done a set of something and I can't. I've got to pick it up and slide my finger underneath to use the fingerprint sensor. But generally it's not the quickest, but it seems to work most of the time. The only problem I sometimes have is when you can't see, obviously, and you're feeling for the back and you don't quite get it on, and then you've got to do again. But again, it's a pretty good fingerprint sensor, I would say. I don't have any notifications at the moment, but there is a notification light just underneath the home button. That works fine, which is interesting because I don't often notice when I have got notifications. Typically, I've not got any at the moment. Oh, I've got one actually, but it's not showing even then. But you only ever get 3 dots up in the top there. You don't get like you would with Android, all the different icons building up along the side. So I found it quite easy to not realise I had notifications. But I'm moving on a little bit too fast perhaps. The device comes in dark grey, silver and gold. It's 8.5mm thick and it's 144 grams in weight. It's nicely rounded around the edges at the back. So all in all, I quite like the design. If we talk about the hardware, it's got a Qualcomm. Now the full title is MSM 8939 version 2 Snapdragon 616 chipset. The processors are quad-core 1.5 GHz Cortex-A53 and quad-core 1.2 GHz Cortex-A53. The GPU is an Adreno 405. It's got 3 GB of RAM. All this lets it kick out around about 2,500 on Geekbench 3. I know when I ran it, in fact, do you know what? Let's run it again, because I know when I ran it in the unboxing, it scored quite low. I say let's run it again. Got to find the thing. So in the unboxing it scored 2,300. I'm sure I've run it after that actually, and it scored, and I cannot remember if it was as high as 2,900, which is why I figured, you know what, we'll run it again while we're talking about the other things. So it's got 32 gig of storage. I found it to have 27 gig of that is available. Some people just don't find 32 gig enough. For me, actually, generally, it's plenty. For a device that doesn't record 4K video anyway, I would say. The screen is an IPS LCD 5-inch screen, 1280 by 720, which is 294 pixels per inch. So 720p screen, you might think, oh, that sounds a bit poor. I actually think it looks a really good screen. You know, I watched videos on YouTube at the gym and stuff like that, and you can see here. Aside from using the Gear VR, I really don't think that my Note 5 needs the massive pixel count that it does have. Also, it's quite a bright screen. It goes up to 670 lumens, which for a £120 device is pretty good. So you might think you're going to struggle a bit in bright daylight with a cheap device, but actually, yeah, if you crank up the brightness, I found it really quite good. We've actually had a few bright days over the last couple of days, and I've coped fine with it. It's got a dual SIM card slot, which can take a nano or a micro SIM, but it can also take a micro SD card using the nano SIM slot, if that makes sense. So if you do use a nano SIM and you want to, there's the result in it, and you want to have a micro SD card in there, you need to use a SIM adapter to put into a micro SIM and use the micro SIM slot. So there we go, 2,840. Like I said, I think I scored 2,900 one time that I ran it. So I think that's not bad for a £120 device, is it? I know when I sort of unboxed it, I'd hoped it might be as high as 3,300, but actually it's not that far off when we've given it time to settle down. Where did I get to? So it does have an FM radio if you plug earphones in the top there, and it also has an IR blaster just next to the microphone. But to be honest, I remember trying to get that to work on a Xiaomi before and I couldn't, so I've not actually bothered trying to use it. But it is there if you wanna do so. Let's move on to the cameras. The front is a 5 megapixel f2.2 lens, which actually didn't produce too bad results, I thought. Reasonable. The back is a 13 megapixel f2.0 camera, which again, actually, I thought the results were pretty good. The still photos, anyway, seemed fairly good. The HDR mode didn't seem too bad. In the dark light, it kind of adds a bit of graining, but not too bad. Both cameras film at 1080p. The rear camera, first of all, the main camera, it did seem a little shaky, so there's no optical image stabilization, obviously. But again, the colors didn't seem too bad, and the sharpness wasn't too bad. Likewise with the front-facing camera, all in all, not actually a bad image on filming. All around, the colours seem generally sort of quite bright. The contrast is quite good. So yeah, the camera for a budget device at £120, I was generally quite impressed. Then let's move on to the software. It comes with MIUI 7, which is basically based on Android 5.1. Let's head over to the settings. About phone. So those that want to see, MIUI 7.2.1 stable. I think I read some of that MIUI 8 is coming within the next few weeks, but I wasn't going to wait around for that. It's easily themed, so this is a theme I've got on now, for example, which I like it because it makes it a bit more stock Android. Let's see if we can find the theme store themes. Downloaded, so that's the one that I'm running at the moment. That was the one it came installed with. You can find, there are lots of themes out there for Xiaomi. Like I said, well, I didn't say in this one, I did in the unboxing. I double checked actually, so Xiaomi is the 5th largest mobile phone manufacturer. So they sell a lot of phones, just not many in the sort of the UK or the US. So yeah, it's easily themed. You just select one, download it, apply it, basically. It's as simple as that. I won't necessarily... it's taking its time. Let's not worry about it. Let's come back out. So with this theme on that I've got at the moment, here is the settings. I find it a little bit odd that... So you've got all the settings here that you can see, but then you go to additional settings, which tends to be... Well, all the good stuff is storage, battery and power, all that kind of thing. One-handed mode, I'll try and show you. I think that's quite... That's quite neat. If you can just probably wasn't on camera then. If you get caught not being able to reach something, swipe across, and then you're literally operating it in that smaller window as if it was a regular phone. When you're ready to go back, so that's quite cool. I think Samsung do it as well, but just a nice little touch. This one came with the Play Store pre-installed, so I've installed Nova Launcher. That's what I've got on here at the minute to try, because I just can't stand I was going to do the review using the MIUI 7, but I hate how it works. It works like an iPhone, I think, and I don't know how people do it. I don't know how you just have your apps just randomly scattered across your home screens. I just don't, I don't know how they do it. Anyway, so I installed Nova Launcher to use it for a few days. So I did have the Play Store pre-installed, but I did have to install the contact syncing app, literally to get it to sync my Google contact. Oopsie daisy. Get it to sync my Google contacts onto the phone. That's done through the Google installer. I have got a video about how to install Google apps onto Chinese phones. Have a look at that if you need to. I found, as I have with other devices, that notifications for things like Google Hangouts and actually for that matter Inbox weren't that reliable. So quite often after a few hours I would go into Hangouts and then it would be telling me, oh, you've got a new chat message from somebody that it hadn't actually notified me of. Likewise with Inbox, I think sometimes I had to go into Inbox and it would then, as I loaded it up, it would refresh. So I don't know why, it just doesn't play nicely with Google servers. And for me that's a pretty big problem because a lot of my life goes through the Google servers. We've still got, although I can't particularly show you, Your notifications don't expand. I don't quite know why they wouldn't let you do that. They wouldn't implement that. You can tap them to go into them. You can dismiss them, but you can't expand them. I've mentioned already that you only get the 3 dots in the top as well. When you get a notification, you don't get the icon for the app. I just don't like that. It reminded me a bit of Windows Phone. I didn't recognise when I had a notification waiting for me. On the lock screen, we do get some different apps side to side. So there's music, I believe. There's the calendar. I don't think there's nothing else at that point, but not too bad. Now, I didn't mention yet the battery. It's a non-removable Li-ion 4100 milliamp hours battery, so pretty hefty, especially for a 5-inch 720p screen. You would expect it to do well, and I believe that it does. So in my test that I do, which involves playing a video for about 37 minutes, then reloading Twitter every 30 seconds until you hit the hour mark, it finished with 92%, which is actually level best with the S7 Edge. Now, I've only tested about 8 or 9 devices with this kind of the new test that I devised, all set to 300 lumens. This is as well, sorry. But still, it came out the best out of any of those. Also, I ran the device for 2 days. I didn't bother charging overnight, and it lasted fine right through to the end of the second day. Now, I'm not heavy using my screen on time, was probably less than 2 hours, but still, I got through 2 days. I do have everything syncing, though, which normally is the killer, just as much as screen time, to be honest. So the battery, definitely a plus. So, all in all, I think it's some pretty great hardware held back by poor software. Well, I say poor software, it's just not suited to the UK or to the US or to the West generally, I think. It's got a good camera, or maybe even very good. It's got a great battery. I think it's got a nice screen. It's a fantastic price. I think if you put stock Android on this thing, you'd have a complete winner. You'd have the whole package, really, then. And having just reviewed the Doogie X5, where they put stock Android on a budget £40 device, it's such a shame that Xiaomi don't do that for the Redmi 3 Pro, because actually I wouldn't keep it over the Note 5, but it'd be something that I would recommend to people, and as it is with the software that it has, I'm not sure that I can. So there you go. Those are my overall thoughts of the Xiaomi Redmi 3 Pro. I bought this one from AliExpress. It cost me £120, including everything, which is an amazing price. It's just a shame it doesn't have stock Android. Let me know your thoughts, though, in the comments down below. I'd be interested to hear them. But for now, my name's Andy, and I will catch you all again soon.